It's time for Thursday Thunder. It's presented by DraftKings Fantasy Sports. Check out what DraftKings has to offer this season with code DAN, because life's more fun when you're in on the action. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Tony, what do you have for the people?
Cooked up a little something for Thursday Thunder. We are staying in one game today, ladies and gentlemen. The Denver Nuggets versus the aforementioned Golden State Warriors. I like the Nuggets -3 tonight. I also like over on Chris Paul assists at 7.5. And I'm also slotting in Nikola Jokic over 25.5 points. So over 25.5 points, over 7.5 assists for Chris Paul. Denver Nuggets -3 gives you a nice plus 470 little parlay ski.
Jessica, why are you making those faces? I didn't think he had to go parlay ski there either. I don't know why you made it.
Overachieving, Tony.
I call him a parlay ski.
That sounds pretty good.
How so? How is he overachieved?
3 picks.
But yes, very serious picks. And
I thought
Thursday
you were
Thunder's
doing
a serious, different
That's
game.
my bad.
Totally different game. Yeah, it's a totally different game.
My bad.
I can't believe we're going to get to Mina Kimes here in a second. But Mike Ryan, I've got to call you out on something because it is a bit pathetic. And it's nice to see the general eagerness of Jeremy Taché around, hey, the Heat win in Los Angeles. Lakers are a pretty important team. Okay, you can make the regular seasons irrelevant, but let's go Heat chance. And then Shams is reporting deepening disconnect, and hardened Heat fan Mike Ryan, who's seen so much, that happening against LeBron, the reporting of the deepening disconnect, and you being like, yeah, who cares when they're 35 games in and they're making the LeBron thing shake and crumble. You're a bit hardened and cynical and got too much sports in your life if you can't feel that a little bit based on what it is that you and LeBron had for a relationship.
Correct, on the air. Off the air, I'm trade machining like a son of a gun.
Mina Kimes is with us now. It is nice to see you, Mina. We are headed into the biggest Dolphin game since I don't know when. And I'm going to say it's bigger than the one they just played against the Ravens because I think Buffalo is better than Miami, and this is a super interesting game. Are you in the camp that believes that Miami has been exposed here and the injuries are going to be a problem, and Miami would have very little reason for confidence against this Bills team this week?
First, I'd like to say I love your polo shirt today, Dan. Haven't seen that one before. I am nervous if I'm Miami, and I'm mostly nervous because of the defense. Buffalo fans will give them no sympathy for the injuries. Obviously, they had their fair share of injuries, but I think the timing of them is such a problem. Those injuries came earlier in the season, and you've seen that Bills defense make adjustments, young players stepping up. They've evolved their scheme. Whereas Miami, and I think this was a real big problem against Baltimore, where you saw so many miscommunications on the back end. Lamar Jackson was amazing, but guys were open. There were busted coverages all over the place. They got them with the motion play that they use. That's a problem at this point in the season. The fact that you are down Xavier Howard, obviously, Bradley Chubb is horrible. Jalen Phillips is already injured. It's a really bad time to lose your most important players, and then to lose them right before this game. I'll be very curious to see how Vic Fangio approaches that challenge, because it is not going to be easy for him, especially with some of the deficiencies in personnel in the secondary.
Well, what do you make as someone who digs deep on where it is the advantages are found? What do you do with Fangio's never had any answers for Josh Allen? Like, if you're building your whole division on toppling the Bills, statistically, Fangio, no matter who his defense is, can never do anything against Josh Allen. So why would that change?
Well, earlier in the season, when these teams play, they didn't have Jalen Ramsey, should be noted. Phillips was still coming off of the injury, but the Bills' offense was also really different. I don't know if you remember this, but Stephon Diggs went absolutely nuclear in that game, and he hasn't really been a factor for a few weeks now. This Bills' offense under Joe Brady has been more about like ball control, throwing to the tight ends. So I think for Fangio, it's a different challenge from what it was earlier in the season. I do think having Ramsey in helps a lot. I think on that side of the ball, your hope, frankly, and this is something that I think Fangio will probably orient his game plan towards, is that you get YOLO Josh Allen we're coming off of a game, by the way, where Josh Allen did not play well against New England. He has been a little bit up and down this season. There are games where he just feels compelled to go nuclear and put on the cape and make throws with 3 guys covering 1 guy downfield. And the truth, Dan, is the best way to get him to do that has nothing to do with Vic Fangio. It's the offense. The offense has to put up points pretty much every drive to force Josh Allen into that mindset where he feels like he has to be superhero Josh to keep up with him.
Can you explain to me, please, just in ways that I can understand? Because the position is changing so much. The schemes and systems around the positions are changing so much that Cam Newton tells me that so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so game managers, no one would ever accuse Josh Allen of that because he plays the style of football that we think is reckless and fun and can be great, and he can have 5 turnovers. Explain to me what happened against the Patriots, where the Patriots almost won that game even though they had like 4 first-half turnovers because Josh Allen was so terrible. What did Belichick do to Josh Allen that's repeatable?
Nothing. He was just off. And I that kind of goes back to what I was saying. I feel like with Josh Allen, it's almost less about what the defense does and more about what version of him you get. The risk reward balance is always the thing with him, and the reason we accept some of the riskier plays is because the reward is so great. If you happen to get one of those games where the risk, it's tilted too far towards risk and not enough towards reward, because he was just off throwing the ball in that game. It wasn't like the Bills, Patriots defense was throwing anything crazy at him. They do have a very good run defense, better than Miami's, I would say. But it really came down to just the quarterback having an off day and then putting too much pressure on himself. And I want to just, if you're a Miami fan, you're listening to this and you're saying, well, she's making it sound like because of her defense, we don't have a chance. I don't believe that. I really think if your offense can bounce back, and we have seen this Miami offense, by the way, bounce back after bad performances pretty frequently over the last 2 years. If they can bounce back and put pressure on Allen to keep up, that is how I think you start forcing him into making some of those decisions.
Explain something else to me. Why were you one of the very few people I heard saying weeks ago when a certain hyperventilation had taken over the 49ers and all they can do offensively, that you were telling us, hey, Ravens really match up well with them? It felt like that, Mike Florio's over here saying Ravens are going to get the kicked out of them. Everybody thought that the 49ers are, going to out physical, out tough you, but nobody does that to the Ravens. What were you seeing in the matchups that you were telling us before anybody else was, hey, the Ravens they can be seen as better than the 49ers?
I do want to start by saying I did pick the Niners to win that game, so I'm not trying to take a huge victory lap. I did not think that the Ravens would get the bleep kicked out of them, however, because the Ravens defense is very well built to play both of these Shanahan-type offenses in Miami and San Francisco. I mean, that back-to-back performance from that defense against those two offenses who've been so dominant over the course of the season is incredibly impressive. And there are 2 things I think that really matter. One is that they have elite linebacking, which is kind of rare in the NFL right now. It's been interesting as frankly, I think Miami has suffered from this a little bit. You look at a team like Philadelphia that chose not to invest in the linebacker position because for years, Dan, we thought in addition to devaluing running backs on offense, off-ball linebacker was not as important. I would argue that right now, off-ball linebacker is more important than it's ever been because these offenses, these Shanahan offenses are basically built to mess with linebackers by always making you wrong, whether it's through the option stuff, the RPO stuff, all the motions and whatnot. So the Ravens come in with, next to San Francisco, the best linebacker duo in the NFL. Roquan Smith has been unbelievable this year, and his ability to cover, pressure, basically take out the middle of the field, which is so important against both Miami and San Francisco, is paramount to beating both those teams. And then the other thing is their defensive coordinator, Mike McDonald, is brilliant and, in my view, should be the number 1 head coaching hire candidate this cycle. It's
so interesting to me, though, Mina, because I feel like when they talk about Sirianni, and I couldn't believe I'm seeing Adam Schefter say, he's safe. Sirianni's not going to be fired. When I'm watching a team that's been pretty great, and now people are questioning the Eagles, and I thought it's not about toughness. It's not about anything else other than their linebackers can't cover anybody. Their linebackers are terrible.
And it's not just the linebacker. Well, I didn't know that Adam said that Sirianni's safe, but that's funny. The way you just did that, it's like when there's a natural disaster on Facebook and you can like tag that. I've been picturing Adam Schefter like going around the NFL and tagging coaches safe, or he's the Reaper, right? Because they'll let you know if your job is in jeopardy. It's good for Nick Sirianni. He is not having a good season. I would say he bears a lot of responsibility, and it's taken a second, I think, to get to that point for some of the issues that they've had on both sides of the ball. I actually think offensively, coaching has been more of the problem, whereas defensively, it's a personnel thing. Linebacker, you came into the season knowing linebacker was a weakness, but the thought was, well, they still have this elite front, and they have these two good covered corners. They'll be fine. But the front hasn't been elite. The corners have either been injured or not playing well. And suddenly you look at this defense, and it's like, what do you do well? And the answer is not really anything right now.
We've seen progressively as the season's gone on that defenses have caught on to what the Eagles have done over the last few years. And I guess it culminates, it builds a crescendo with someone that was formerly on their staff just totally taking them apart. And I know A.J. Brown held the players responsible somewhat, but it appears from watching the Eagles these last few weeks is they're out of moves on offense. Would you agree with that?
When you compare them to some of the offenses, the ones we were talking about, San Francisco and Miami, or I would say Baltimore, frankly, when you watch that offense and some of the things that Todd Monken is doing creatively, the Eagles offense feels relatively simplistic. It was that way last year, too. It is premised around the idea that they have a numbers advantage with Jalen Hurts as a runner, which has not been the advantage it was last year, this year, and then talent. We've got a better wide receiver doer than you. Why do we need to do all kinds of crazy stuff to get them open and the motions and all that stuff? Well, the problem is when, as you said, defenses are keyed in on that, and when you lose that numbers advantage, and when guys aren't executing at a super high level, and you don't have a schematic advantage, suddenly you're just not dominant anymore. They're not a bad offense, but they're no longer great because the coaching isn't putting them in the same position you see with some of the really, really good offenses around the NFL right now.
I'm going to break with you real quick, but just out of curiosity, if we gave you endless questions about football because we were forever fascinated, do you think you could answer them endlessly? Like that you would enjoy informing our audience because you care about this stuff so ridiculously?
Like if you were asking me about like Bucks Panthers and Jags Titans, and like you really want to get gross. Let's get gross. Ask me the most unpleasant football question you can come up with after the break.
All right, let's do this, and let's speed it up, because I do believe that Mina would be forever titillated by being able to answer your endless football questions. Let's do this interactively next. I'm now officially a bit disgusted by Mina because she wants to talk about Carolina Panthers football, and I can't do it. It's too dirty for me. I've got to stay with the high-end questions like who's better, the Dolphins or the Lions? The Dolphins or the Lions? Because I think they're kind of the same. They're mirrors of each other in different conferences. Who's better, Lions or Dolphins?
Ooh, the Dolphins are the better team, but the injuries on defense make me a little bit hesitant to pick them right now. I'm still going to go Dolphins, though. I still believe that offense can put up points on anyone. Also, Bucks Panthers isn't even close to being the grossest thing this week. Like, that game actually matters. The Bucks need to win. Have you looked at the list of quarterbacks who are starting? We're getting Wentz Darnold. I cannot wait for Wentz Darnold.
No, you're not that dirty.
Give it to me. Give me Wentz Darnold.
I'm not going to get that dirty yet. I want to ask you if at the age of 35, is Travis Kelce at the end of this?
I don't think so. I think obviously he's not quite what he was last year, although they've been kind of limiting his snaps until recently. But I still think when you still watch him, he still gets open. He still bodies guys. He just has a few more drops, a little bit bit less juice in his step.
Can you give us a Jets-Patriots preview, perhaps?
No, come on.
That is straight to the X-rated stuff. Are we ready to get
aggressive? Can we go? Come on, go.
I got a good one here. How about a preview of Easton Stick versus Blaine Gabbert?
So Easton Stick, after a very, very disastrous start, I thought looked a little bit better against the Buffalo Bills. His mobility adds a factor that can be hard to project. Obviously, the Chargers aren't really playing anyone right now, but I would say, like, the fact that he has been playing more football than Gabbert, who obviously has not been playing because he hasn't had to.
You're gross. You're disgusting.
I can't believe you actually
There's
gave
something
a
there with
response.
these.
You disgust me. You want to now go Gabbert on us when I refuse to believe that I will not believe that Gabbert's starting an NFL football game this weekend. Come on.
Is he the worst quarterback who started? I don't think so.
Come on.
Gabbert's won games.
You're disgusting.
CJ Beathard played nice.
CJ Beathard protected the football. I mean, they played a massive role. They needed to win that game. CJ Beathard, I thought they ran the ball well with Travis Etienne, which obviously helped a great deal. But I thought Beathard, like, he also showed a little something running the ball. I have a confession about him, which is I think he's tougher than he is purely because his name is Beat Hard, which I also realize has other connotations.
Come on. Tomorrow with Alex Rodriguez on South Beach Sessions.
That's absent context for Mina. Is Mike Vrabel going to be coaching his last game in Tennessee? It's been a weird week in terms of leveraging the media. And I think Rand Carthon is incentivized to kind of play out. No, we love Mike. We love Mike. Mike had a lot of success over there prior to Rand Carthon, and that's always a dicey scenario. It's in the best interest of the Tennessee Titans for Rand Carthon to make it seem like no trouble in paradise whatsoever, because maybe he kind of wants the Patriots to trade for him.
He's not he's not the problem in Tennessee. That team was bad coming into this year. I thought they would be the worst in the division. The offensive line, they're a rebuilding team that didn't really go full rebuild because they kept Tannehill around, and then obviously they started Levis. But Vrabel's not the problem in Tennessee. By the way, speaking of dirty, the Jags are playing them. The Jags have to win this game. I'll probably pick the Jags, but do not underestimate Mike Vrabel's ability to drag teams into the mud. Like, he will do some of the grossest stuff in that game. We're talking fake punts, weird rules, exploitation that we don't even know about. I would stay so far away.
I think Tennessee, one last ride with Tannehill and Vrabel as a super dog ruining everything. The Titans are actually pretty well positioned, though. They have the most cap room out of anybody next year. Like, they did a good job of digging themselves out of a bad situation.
This was the rebuilding year, yeah.
You're dirty, though, because Jeremy was whispering in my ear in a way that made me uncomfortable the names of quarterbacks who are playing this weekend.
Jeff Driscoll's going.
Against Browning. That's a football game that's being played this weekend.
So, we got corrected because I think the Texans, the year that TJ Yates started a playoff game, had 4 quarterbacks. So prior to this year, they were the first team to have 4 quarterbacks in a year and make the playoffs. Not nearly as strong as this Browns team. The Browns have one up them and decided, okay, we're going to start a 5th just to make sure we have that record. And here comes Driscoll.
Jeff Driscoll, I believe, briefly tried out to play wide receiver when he was in Cincinnati. Like, he was considering a position change because he thought his career as a quarterback was over. Oh, gosh. It's a Jeff Driscoll revenge game, if then, right? Got to factor that into account.
You're gross.
He's got legs. He can move. But, Jake Browning... when you look at all these backup quarterbacks, a real sentence that has to be said is Jake Browning is the creme de la creme of this group.
Come on.
We're still waiting on that Jets-Patriots preview.
No, not too fast.
This has been disgusting, by the way. But my question was too gross.
No, well, Stidham O'Connell.
Both quarterbacks who I think are probably near the top if we're ranking all of the gross quarterbacks. I would probably... O'Connell's been playing longer. And I think that I kind of like what this Raiders defense has been doing lately. They've been sneakily pretty good under Patrick Graham, a lot better than you would expect. Don't love Max Crosby versus that offensive line. So I'll go Vegas and O'Connell.
I do enjoy this part, though. Antonio Pierce is going to be the first genius in that sport that descends from interning for Howard Stern. Like, Antonio Pierce is going to get that job, correct? Based on the fact. Yeah, he interned for the Howard Stern show. And you didn't know that? Yes, Antonio Pierce did that. And now he kind of Jeff Saturdays his way into a job a little bit, right? He was the guy who was available near. But no, he's got coaching experience. He's not Jeff Saturday. But Antonio Pierce is going to end up getting a prime job because they won 6 games at the end of the season.
I think he'll also get a prime job because, and this is something we probably don't talk about enough when we talk about organizations and decisions they made. The Raiders don't have a ton of, and I don't mean this to diminish Antonio Pierce, just try to understand what they might do, especially after the contracts that they gave out most recently to Josh McDaniels. but before that, Gruden. They don't have a lot to spend on head coach, so I suspect they might see the opportunity to just stay in-house, ride with the guy that, who has been doing a good job this year, and stick with him, especially after they let Bisaccia go. Not that that would have been.
Is that a problem for any other team, Mina? That the finances of a coach, that's a problem for a lot of organizations in that sport?
Yes, it is. And I said we don't talk about it enough. Like, it does affect decision making, not just with coaching hires, but with players. Like, you have to look at how much cash owners have on hand. It's why the Bengals changed the name of their stadium, because they literally needed the money to pay Joe Burrow, and we'll see who else. See if Jamar Chase would be next. But that's the thing about NFL owners, right? Like, a lot of them are like, the third generation of owning like a pencil factory. It's not like tech where it's like Mark Cuban, and there's a lot of, I'm not calling them broke, but they're not exactly, the sort of wealth that we see sometimes in other leagues.
Mina, there's a quarterback that is 6-2 in his last 8 with his team in the playoffs right now, fighting for a division, and we are not talking about him. Gardner Minshew. Why are we not talking about Gardner Minshew and the Colts?
Because he's not the reason why they win games. I would say that would be my first answer.
I would
to
debate
that. I think that this is interesting because it's kind of Coach of the Year Bowl, because Shane Steichen, D'Amico Ryan's probably deservedly favorite. Shane Steichen has done a fantastic job with this Colts team, despite the fact that Gardner Minshew has given him pretty limited quarterback play, tries to turn over the football a lot. He is not playing at a very high level. I wouldn't even, like, when we go through that list of backups, I probably wouldn't put him at the top.
I acknowledge you've probably addressed this on your podcast, the Mina Kimes Show, featuring Lenny and all the other wonderful things that you do for ESPN. But bad defenses are giving the Kansas City Chiefs problems. It's not just a good and they're going to run into plenty of good ones in the playoffs, or maybe just one.
Stugotz says he wants to see the Chiefs in the playoffs.
I don't disagree, and I think playing Blaine Gabbert, even though that Patrick Mahomes isn't necessarily the issue there, but I think this offense just needs more reps somehow. It doesn't look like they got a snowball's chance, even though they have Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes. What is the issue with this offense?
Is that the clip where Stugotz, where I just saw it on my socials, where he's like incredibly close to the camera for some reason?
Yes.
What was the thinking?
A viral take. We wanted to have a viral take.
It worked. Dan produced it. You noticed.
Should I try to do that? I don't know if I want to be.
Yes, let's do that.
Let's zoom into her screen. Can we just maximize that?
Let's see how we do that. We've got 2 minutes left in the segment, and we've got to hit
we can't distort the image. She has to do it because she's not going to be able to do it.
Okay, but what do you mean? Don't underestimate her. She's not an old person like me.
Can you zoom in?
I can zoom in.
Just bring your face to the camera.
All right, but you've got to do a take, though.
I have to go really close to the camera.
All right, let's do this. This is what we need from you, Mina. You've got about 90 seconds left. They'll give you a countdown. But we are trying to get a viral take from you that goes as close to your mouth as it can, but you have to say something that's at least a little polarizing or meant to go viral. So you have 90 seconds right now.
Wait, I have to. Okay, wait. Am I close enough, or should I get closer
to
the camera?
How should we do this?
Closer.
We've got 80 seconds left.
Even closer.
Look at I was sweating. I was on first take all
I'm talking
morning.
about like Saltburn bathtub close.
Right. This was your idea, Mina.
All right, we have 70 seconds left, and it's okay. I'm giving you time to think about this, and we will work on our end to get as close to your mouth as we can.
Okay. Here's my, I don't like my teeth. I just chipped both of them, by the way, because I grind them so much. But anyways, all right. Okay.
We're good.
50 seconds.
Okay. Here is my potentially viral take. I think the Kansas City Chiefs will still play in the AFC Championship. I know that.
How?
Oh, it's good, right? I look so bad in this video. I can't believe I'm letting you guys do this.
Explain with 20 seconds left.
I think outside of the Baltimore Ravens, when you look around the division, or the conference rather, I think all the AFC teams are pretty flawed. Talked about Miami's defense. We'll see what happens with Buffalo. The Jags are a mess, but they'll probably win. The Browns are scary, but I think that they'll get knocked out by the Ravens, depending on how that thing shakes out. So when you look around and you're like, okay, well, one team has Patrick Mahomes. I know that the quarterback or the offense has been a mess, but the defense still looks pretty damn good.
Time!
Oh, it looks so bad.
That is so untrue.
In all likelihood, they would have to knock them out in the conference championship, right? Because Cleveland's locked into the 5.
Yeah.
No one likes seeing their face that close up.
Okay,
I didn't even know what I was saying.
Whose idea was it? Was it my idea? It was my idea.
Yeah, it was your idea. Great producing, by the way. This is the post-game show.
She wanted to go viral. She asked me.
I don't think that'll go viral. That wasn't even that hot.
I mean, it was a pretty hot take.
I just tried to do the opposite of what
you have
Stu
them
did.
in the conference championship. If we're doing this based on form, there's several teams that you would take in the AFC over them. Them struggling against Cincinnati and that tire fire of a defense, giving Harrison Butker 6 field goals, made me really concerned.
Oh, but everybody, Mina, everyone is doing this to the Chiefs, and I understand how it happens. You're going to lose some players on offense. Your wide receivers aren't as good, and they look like they have struggled. But, Mina, we were talking about this earlier in the week. 8 straight years of winning that division when everyone in competition in that division is coming for your things and drafting to have strengths where you have weaknesses, and the salary cap makes the schedule super hard. Staying 8 years on top of a division is physically grueling and hard. They're allowed to be less good. They're allowed to have a road playoff game because football's hard.
Yeah, they made mistakes in terms of roster construction on the offense. You look around the league, you see some of the young wide receivers and free agents that other teams have signed. Clearly, they chose poorly, although Rashee Rice looks pretty good. And then some of the assets that they've been able to acquire, including from the Hill trade, they poured into the defense, which, again, I'll stress, looks very good to me, especially when I compare them to some of the other units around the, not just AFC, but the NFL. I mean, the offense, the problem with the offense is just last year, and I talked about this actually on my show with Mitch Schwartz, it's not that dissimilar structurally from what it was last year. The players even are not that dissimilar. The problem is when you're that kind of offense where you're not really explosive and it's just all about ball control and efficiently moving your way up and down the field, if one little thing goes wrong, a sack, a hold, offside, whatever, a drop obviously has been an issue, you kind of send the whole thing spiraling, and that's just happened to them too many times. I don't think they're a great team by any means. My point about them, or I guess my belief in them, is more just reflecting the fact that I think that the AFC is pretty wide open after Baltimore.
For the love of God, can we get to Jets-Patriots, please?
Fair enough. Fair enough. It's the dirtiest of what we have going on this weekend, correct?
Well, it's interesting because it might be Bill Belichick's last game in New England, which is why I would never pick against the Patriots in this scenario. Like, if there's anyone who will pull out all, I talked about Mike Vrabel pulling out all the stops, Belichick will do whatever it takes to win this game. Truly, whatever disgusting thing he can come up with.
The dirtiest.
Against this, the dirtiest thing against this Jets offense, and the defense still is like pretty good. So I do think that the Patriots will win this game. And I don't know what's going to happen with Belichick, by the way. Everyone I've talked to has a different view on
that. Would have been a good take. See, that would have been a good place for you to have a super strong opinion on Belichick will do the dirtiest things to win and then will coach the Chargers or whatever it is that you'd be willing to stake your credibility on.
That's a prediction, not a...
Well, but your credibility with a prediction look, I don't want to be teaching you this after all these years. You've had plenty of success without any of our help. But you can go viral. The show, the Mina Kimes show with Lenny, can go viral if you're looking how to find clippable viral moments that aren't just you're great at football analysis.
I don't think people have strong feelings about Belichick. And that's crazy. Dan, you and I talked about this on Pablo's show. We're talking about the best coach in NFL history potentially being axed, and I have not seen anyone with like truly strong opinions about it.
Because Mina,
good or bad.
But don't you think though, Mina, because the sport can't be so cutthroat and dumb that we think that guy's no longer good at his job so quickly. Like, it's stupid. It's not far removed from what we're talking about with Adam Schefter having to say, "Hey, Sirianni's safe," when you're like, of course he's safe. They've been in the playoffs every year, and it's hard to do that in that sport. Like, of course he's safe. But if that's where we're going to put the standard on these coaches, then of course it's going to be stupid and unreasonable.
Bill Belichick furiously refreshing Facebook to see if he's been tagged safe. Or he calls it my face. I think Bill Belichick is still a very good football coach, but he's made two really bad decisions, or a couple of. Are you zooming in on me? All right, a couple of really horrible decisions. One of which is, of course, how he handled the offense in terms of handing the reins over to his buddies. Basically ruining Mac Jones and setting the franchise back. It's probably his biggest mistake he's made as an NFL coach. And then the roster construction. He is the GM of this team, and the decisions he's made both in the draft and a free agency when they had a lot of money have been very poor. Ideally, I think you would keep him as a coach and get him to cede roster responsibilities, but everything I've heard and just sort of the indignity of splitting the baby, I guess, that way suggests to me that they won't do that.
Can't you just say?
I don't think that was hot enough to go viral. That had a lot of caveats.
I know, but can't you just say he should be fired? Like, why can't
There's
you?
There's like a dog hair on that microphone.
Why can't you just say?
I just used a lint. Okay, fine. Zoom in again.
Why can't?
Fine, zoom in again. I'll do it. I'll do it. Do you want me to start and then zoom in again?
Yeah,
I don't know how you.
yeah.
Okay, okay.
Just give us a second, but don't be distracted by it. Just don't be.
I'm not distracted.
Okay, I'm sorry to do this to you.
No, I'm ready.
No, you're not.
My name is Mina Kimes. I work for ESPN. I think that Bill Belichick, the greatest coach in the history of the NFL, should be fired. Even though it's really not his fault, like everything that's happened, and it's only really if he should cede roster responsibility. Ideally, you'd be able to keep him on because he is a brilliant defensive play caller, and you'd be able to fix the offense and give someone else the opportunity to fix the roster.
Mike, Duncan Robinson, Kyle Lowry, Niko Jovic picks for LeBron James, works on the trade machine.
You were looking at my computer.